Hi, Felix. I'm so happy to have you here today as my guest on Unfounded. Our topic today is being a human while building a company. And I can't think of anyone in my universe that I'd rather have this conversation with than you. This is a really important topic. There's so much that's written and celebrated about entrepreneurship and startups that just ignores the human experience of building a company. And it really, really, really ignores the diversity of that experience. And I think this is an incredible opportunity in time and space to start to poke holes in some of that. The way it's going to work, we have 3 questions that we're gonna bounce off each other to explore this topic. One looks to the past, one speaks to the present, and one leans into the future. And the wild card is that the third question, the one about the future, we haven't shared with each other in advance. So we don't really know what that's all about. No formal bios on this show, but for anybody watching, if you want to learn a little bit more about Felix and his amazing company Zoobean and his entrepreneurial journey, you can check that out in the show notes. But what I've done instead of doing formal bios is I've asked Felix to describe himself in 3 words. So Felix, 3 words.
Okay.
I know, it's hard.
Family, achiever, and Black.
True, I know you. Those are 3 words. I mean, I think about all the times we do these formal bios and I don't know anything. I think those 3, I learned those 3 words are the right 3 words, man. I think that's so much better. No more formal bios. Just 3, just right now. My words would be like wine, beach, like pancakes. Like, I mean, it kind of like, yeah, kind of changes the time. So, all right. So
pancake sales are up, by the way.
Pancakes, yeah, I'm like pancakes, yeah. So, we're gonna jump right into this topic of being human while building a company, and we're gonna start with the past. So, our first question, I'm gonna ask you about the past. So, what's like one thing that maybe you took as gospel when you were younger about being a founder that now, when you look back, you think it's maybe a little less absolute than you were led to believe?
Yeah, I don't know where the gospel came from. I don't know if anybody gave it down from the mount or if it's something I told myself. But I think I had this belief that building a company was like a rocket ship proposition. It was either to the moon or a failure to launch. I never knew that I would be doing this for 7 years and counting, and with no end in sight, and just sort of settling in. I guess it's not unicorn, it's not failure. It can be building a company, grinding. And I don't know if I would have done it the same if I would have known that it could be so much for so long. Though I'm happy with every step of the way. I don't think I understood the grind of it. And once you're on this ride and you're going.
Yeah. It's so I'm not supposed to respond, and it's so hard. I'm not supposed to, but yeah, that whole I think that there are big questions about where did that gospel come from, and maybe that'll be another segment another day.
Yeah,
so,
I dig it. Yeah.
All right, looking backwards, your turn. Lay it on me.
Yeah, for you, I know you've been in this world of entrepreneurship and working with entrepreneurs. You do have such a good connection with folks like myself. I'm interested in who, of all the folks you've come across, whether you've invested or not, who has most surprised you in whatever way? Who and how?
That's an awesome question. Mostly there aren't that many surprises because mostly people do what they say and they are who they are. And thankfully I'm pretty good judge of character, and I'm pretty authentic, I think. So like attracts that. So I think in a good way, my life as a founder and as an investor wasn't like, oh shit, like those people went upside down. What I think, this sounds so great, that you know what I've been surprised the most by? Myself. how much I've changed through interacting with all of these founders,
Mm-hmm.
all of the founders, like how much I've changed and how much I've surprised myself by realizing how not awesome I was at something or how much more awesome I was at something. I think the more than the founders surprising me, I think I've just been surprised by myself at how much more there was to learn. Like how much more a person can teach you than you think when you meet them, right? Not that they surprised me, like they turned out to be a total asshole or they were amazing and I thought they were junk. More like if you really like stop and allow yourself, like it's just surprising how much more people can teach you if you let them. Like how much more you can experience and learn. So I think maybe that's like the big surprise is that the entrepreneurs that I've worked with through the years, that they're so much more than I ever imagined. And maybe it goes back to this idea about being human, that as I've gotten more mature, I can see the founders as humans and not as archetypes. And I think maybe that's the surprise, is just how much more there is, you know, kind of like below the rhetoric. There's like so much more.
Right on.
Yeah, I think so. All right, present. We're in the present day. Fast forward. Okay.
Right here.
So, Felix, do you have a framework for how you balance making good business decisions with the underlying mission that Zoobean has to improve the literacy and ultimately the lives of the children and families that you serve?
I do. You know, you might have heard me talk about it before, but I read this book, Good to Great. You know, I'm a fiction and screenwriting major, no training in business. So these little books that I read inform my education. And Good to Great has this concept of the hedgehog, which is sort of this one thing that a company knows it does well, is passionate about, it can do better than anybody else, and makes money doing it. And for us, as a company that is about literacy and reading motivation, reading community, culture reading, I'm able to definitively say and believe, though these things are always evolving, that our hedgehog is to motivate people to read more and read together. And I think if I'm able to then filter the incremental, daily, the big vision, all of that through that lens, it helps. You know, there are companies that, whether it be Ben and Jerry's, or there's a company we work with that gathers the sales leads, but does it by employing people in developing nations. So there's social impact because of the way they choose to operate their business. But Ben and Jerry's could easily just be an ice cream business. This company could easily not use the folks in developing nations if they can still make money doing it. I think in our company, we're about reading, and we're typically about families. And it's a universal skill that lifts people across the economic spectrum and all forms of diversity. So I think just staying true to that and saying, okay, is what we're doing now part of what makes us most competent at getting people to read more and read together?
So like there are no good business decisions if they don't hold true to that.
Exactly. And that's complicated, right? Because sometimes you can make it seem so, or you really don't know.
Yeah.
But I believe the extension of that is being honest about that, because it's easy to be distracted by the shiny thing or the painful thing or the pressing thing. So it's not just having that hedgehog, but being honest about it. Does this really apply to that? It may be interesting, but can we really do this well? Should we be doing this well? And
like you almost have to look into your own like deep, dark, truthful mirror when you ask the question. You can't ask it. You can't ask it glibly. Like, does this help people read? You have to like really like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Your turn. In the present, where are we at?
So one of the best rejections I ever got from an investor told me about this horse, the jockey in a race. And he was telling me, I was like, where's he going with this? And you've heard this, right? This horse jockey, right?
I have. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
All right. He was telling me how I was such a good jockey. He liked me. So as an entrepreneur, this was years ago. But then he proceeded to tell me why my horse was off with the product and the race and the market. And therefore, we won't invest in you.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, Rev Up and you all have this particular approach. The world has changed so much because of the pandemic. You invest in a different type of company with that investor. So how do you right now think of it today?
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because when I was an equity investor, I definitely had one set of things. And then when we created Rev Up, that changed. I do think, as trivial or trite as it sounds, there are frameworks that investors have to try to communicate their point of view. I don't like anything that likens a person's to like a jockey. And I feel like you're not a jockey.
I'm 6'2".
Yeah, but you're not a jockey. Your business isn't a horse, and this isn't a race, right? But I do have a similar framework. So, I mean, obviously the jockey, but like team is really important. Kind of yada yada. I'll tell you my bias here. I think one of the most important ingredients in success, and I didn't make this up. There's other people have written about this and published about this. So it's not like, this is not my stroke of brilliance. It's just what I've kind of assigned my beliefs to, is timing really matters in whether or not a company makes it or not. Timing in terms of when they hit the market, what else is happening? Are the consumer behaviors there? What are the macroeconomic conditions? And if you look back historically, and some people have really done this, there's a great TED Talk about this, timing is the great equalizer. So did you come into the market or come into your founder moment at the right time? I've seen so many great ideas with great teams that just didn't make it. So we've done now, Alan and I have done 130 companies together across these two portfolios. Wow. There were really good companies in our equity portfolio that just was the wrong time. And now, like, you look yesterday, the same idea is now like this juggernaut, right? And it's not because the team wasn't good enough. I think timing, really recognizing, and the way that I see that in that moment you're describing, when you're communicating, you're dialoguing with an investor, is when a founder can really articulate why this is the moment. I get really juiced. And when they can do it in a way that's not fake, but like it's so, they actually believe it's the moment. Like they hear the loudspeaker, and the loudspeaker says, come now, it's the time. When that is in a good, I mean, and everything else is decent, like good jockey, good rate, good horse, I don't even know. That comes together with that really organic sense of timing. I even if it's not a fit for my fund, I feel good for that founder, and I feel like, I love that. Yeah, that's like timing, man, timing. And it's a little sad, because it's the one thing you can't control. But you like, you can, I mean, you can lean into it, you can adapt to it, but it is kind of the one. It is the one thing though, you can't you can't snap your fingers and make everybody ready, right? So
I like how you use the word timing. I'm not commenting too much, but I think luck and time. I think people often talk about luck, but I like the word timing more. I
think so. I think a lot of times we assign luck to what was really timing. And there is fairy dust in entrepreneurship. There's also a ton of privilege and other stuff we'll talk about later, but another day. but there is, there is a little luck and a little, but timing. And I think about that all the time. So, all right, fast forward. Wild card round.
Here we go.
Okay,
let's do it.
Here's your wild card question. So I actually, I even wrote this one down because it was kind of, I didn't want to get the words wrong. But I mean, kind of where we started, I think that the lived experience of entrepreneurship sometimes has been portrayed as really cartoonish. Certainly as a Black person, that. Even as a woman, though, I know that, right? It's been really cartoonish, and it's like we forgot that founders were human, and that companies were run by humans, right? And it got very cartoonish. It also made it really easy to ignore the role that like race and privilege play, and who wins and who loses, right? By turning it all into one big giant cartoon and making the lived experience of building a company seem so abstractly like archetypal. It really it sustained a lot of really bad stuff. And I kind of keep hoping that we're breaking through that. And I guess I want to ask you kind of humbly, do you think this is changing? And if so, do you, what are the things we could all be doing to make this change happen faster?
I think it's changing. I wonder to the degree people use not now or I'm busy, or has to be now to be the challenge that helps things change. So I'm thinking as you're asking the question, I'm specifically answering, and you may be asking this directly, I may be hearing the question, I want to hear it. But do I think that the opportunities for Black entrepreneurs, for underrepresented women, people above age 50, whatever it may be, is evolving so it's beyond the archetype, the stereotype that we see, and that plays out as such because we see it as such. So do I see greater diversity in entrepreneurial ranks, successful startup and company ranks in the future? Absolutely. It's inevitable. It's Martin Luther King's quote about the arch of history is long, but it always bends forward, or something to that effect. I think we'd inevitably bend forward. It's inevitable. But I think the challenges that they get in the way is people. It's always easy to be busy. I'm gonna say something happened in my company. Black entrepreneur, Black CEO. We really needed to hire a couple developers. We're growing. We needed some mobile app developers so we can bring our mobile app development completely in-house. We interviewed these few people, and they were white men, fit the bill, well-educated in the world of computer engineering. And one of our other developers was brought into a virtual lunch, and his family's from Guam. And he said to us on the side, I'm not comfortable with how fast we're moving. And I'd like for us to try to find more candidates than what we brought so far. And I felt like we couldn't slow down, but we did. And we found some great candidates that were more diverse. We ended up bringing, because she was the most qualified and outstanding, a woman of color onto the team who's been outstanding. And I can't remember why we were so rushed before, but it felt like we were so rushed. And I would say that people.
But like you made it human. Yeah, like you slowed down and you became
slow down
in that minute.
Slow down and look at people, look for people, and not. It's too easy to be busy. It's too easy to need it right now. It's too easy to put it off till later. It's too easy to say, we're going to do that in the third quarter. We're going to do that with the next hire. And then it never happens. So I would say for people, whatever it is that we want to be it right now, even if it takes more time.
Yeah.
Because that's the excuse people give us all the time. Not now, not where you are right now. It's always not now. It's always not now. And it always has been. And that makes it take too long, but it will happen.
Going back to where we started, that's the problem with that gospel. That gospel doesn't, you don't start knowing that. The gospel makes it seem like speed is what's most valuable, right? Like put all that. And I just think when you can be human, right, you can sort of let yourself go. And I mean, that's so powerful. Thank you for that. All right, your turn.
Here's what I got. All right, so I don't know if you ever heard this, Jeff Bezos. So the book I'm reading now, I'm reading this great book of fiction, A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley, amazing book of short stories about Black men. Stories. Yeah, all Black men, great author, amazing stories. And I'm also reading this book of letters by Jeff Bezos. It was a scam. I shouldn't have bought the book because it's all just his stock letters. But I'm a fan. I saw it as like a book of letters by Jeff Bezos, but it's mostly his letters to
you're like it was a scam,
shareholders. But I'm shareholders letters. So I'm a fan of his, and it goes to show you. I admire him like a lot of entrepreneurs. That's and he's got this regret matrix. Have you ever heard his regret matrix?
I haven't.
Okay. His regret matrix that supposedly led him to step out and build Amazon was he did a chart and said, which of these decisions am I most likely to regret when I'm age 80? And in that case, to hear his story, it was whether he stayed at the hedge fund or wherever he was, or he went and did Amazon. This is in the very beginning. And in his regret matrix, he thought, when I'm 80, I'll probably never regret having given this thing a shot. I'll regret having stayed in this job, even though I'm doing well. And obviously it paid out for him. But I love this idea that you could even project forward to 80 and know what you might regret more today. So that is my question for you.
Okay.
As you look forward to 60 years from now, when you're 80, did you get that? Did you do the math?
I did. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm 80. I don't want to think about it, but I'm 80.
So whether it's something specific to you, to this time, what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah,
you're most likely to.
I get it.
Regret. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually thought a lot about this. So, I have had to do and be certain things in my career to feel comfortable. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I was in life sciences when there were no women. I've had to play a lot of different parts. And one of the things I had to do, or I thought I had to do, was just kind of suck it up and accept a lot of really not great stuff. And fast forward now that I'm one of my favorite things to do is be an advisor to first-time founders in the C-suite. because I didn't have any of that. Nobody was helping me out there. I didn't have any of that. And I realized about a year ago, one of the risks that I had, and that my philosophy was take the violence, push it down, and maybe it'll break your heart, but you won't have a fat lip, right? Do that. Take it and then figure out later how to overcome. When I met a new generation of founders, in this case, a lot of women founders, they were more willing to take a fat lip and maybe not push it down and take the broken heart. And that got me thinking, maybe sometimes a fat lip, a conflict is actually better than a broken heart. A fat lip will heal, put a little ice on it. A broken heart I think about how much of myself got influenced by that, all that hurt, and how that's what I thought I had to do. And one of the big realizations was I can't bequeath that as an advisor to a new generation. I've got to let them decide what's the ratio of fat lips to broken hearts. And I think when I worry about regrets, I worry about bequeathing unto this generation what others bequeathed unto me. And sometimes that's not all good. So really really recognizing that being an advisor and a mentor isn't about putting a training program on top of someone and saying, follow this training program, that it's something more and different. And it's about really listening and evolving with them. And I have a few women founders that I work with very closely, and they have taught me a lot about the benefit of some fat lips over broken hearts over time. And I sometimes think I have a regret today at 46 about taking too many broken hearts and how that affected me, and who I might have been if I hadn't then had to overcome all that mishigash. So I think my fear of regret is that I will forget that things have changed so fast, and that while you can be an older person who helps a younger person, helping isn't imprinting on them your framework, but rather it's being a more honest broker in presenting the options, but being honest with them about the price that you paid for your decision, and then let them make some choices about whether or not they want to take that with them. And I think about that a lot when it comes to women and entrepreneurs of color, and just being real about all of that and being more honest about the impact that had on me, the real impacts, the things you never talk about at work, the things that you don't ever put in your resume, but the human toll and the effect it had on my self-esteem and my confidence and all other kinds of things, that now that I'm kind of over that bullshit, I'm like, oh, give me the biggest fat lip, because you are not breaking my heart, man. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, even try to give me a fat lip, because I'm bobbing, I'll weave, and I'll get you first, you know, like now it's, I'm like, oh yeah, you try, but there's no way you're gonna break my heart, right? And I just think, like, what if this had happened 10 years ago? So I'm really thoughtful about getting to the end. And I'm not gonna, like, the regret that I have is just gonna be about doing what the generations do, which is imprinting, thinking that your experience should just be imprinted, rather than recognizing that the world's changing so fast that the best thing to do is actually just have a real honest accounting about what really happened to you, and what were the consequences. And just because you made money, or you won the professional war, or you got the promotion, don't leave out the other parts about what happened outside of that, and what price did you pay, and being just being more cool about that, because that's not something I experienced. A lot of my mentors, like, that's not what I picked up from them.
Down.
So, like,
I love that analogy. You know, I'm big on these simple analogies, like the hedgehog, and I love that. Fat lips and broken hearts.
I mean, now look at this beautiful money. Look at this face. Has not had.
It's all been pushed down. It's been pushed down.
But this dumpster fire. This is a shit show.
No comment. I like this.
Right,
I think it's great.
We are out of time. That was so awesome. Thank you so much for taking time. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you back again to do another topic.
You too, Melissa. Thanks for having me.